Hello, I'm Brent Madden, pastor at Cedartown First Methodist Church. I have the honor this coming Wednesday night at 7 o'clock to be a part of the tradition that started over 150 years ago. That is Union Camp Meeting, celebrated at Union Campground in northwest Carroll County. The camp meeting movement started in rural areas of the South so that people would have a chance to come together as a community, taking a break from the responsibilities of their everyday life to worship a God who loved them enough to send his only Son, Jesus Christ. Even 150 years ago, they recognized the need to come together, even though crops were in and animals were going to need to be fed, travel wasn't going to be easy, even though the stores would have to close. Even though it wasn't necessarily a good time to gather in some of their minds, they did because they knew the responsibility of being a good neighbor meant sacrificing, not just of resources like supplies and money, but of also their time. And that leads me to our gospel story. When we look at the parable of the Good Samaritan found in the Gospel of Luke, we hear Jesus telling the lawyer the definition of the "who is your neighbor" statement. Well, there's this effect that I've been studying. It's called the bystander effect, and it's a psychological phenomenon in which individuals are less likely to help someone in need when other people are present. If others see you helping someone, you might get accused of something like causing an injury that caused them to be in the shape they're in, or even worse, you might be the one who they might think you're the one who actually caused the incident or the perpetrator of the crime. Even worse, in some people's mind, you might be called as a witness to a pending legal matter. The presence of others around this incident becomes a diffusion of responsibility, meaning that each person assumes someone else is going to intervene, which usually leads to everyone not doing anything. When we assume others will intervene, the hesitation can mean the difference between life and death, as in our gospel reading. Perhaps you and I are never going to be confronted with events as dire as those that played out between the victim, bystanders, and the Samaritan of Jesus' story. But wouldn't you hate it if you asked a restaurant server for a glass of water and she replied, "This isn't my table"? Or after you've been waiting in line at the post office for an eternity, an employee tells you just as you come to the counter, "I need to close this window because it's time for my break." We don't like it when we're the victims of the excuses of others. We don't like it when friends don't listen to us or take us seriously. We don't like it when friends or family fail to check in or offer comfort during a difficult time, thinking someone else is going to handle it. These are all ways of saying, as the priest and Levite surely said to themselves, "It's not my job." And it's such a lame excuse. It's another way of saying, "I'm too good for this," or "I don't have time for this or for you." But ignoring the customer who needs a glass of water or the man attacked and left for dead in the ditch are both examples of diffusion of responsibility. The thinking is simply, there is a need here for sure, but now is not a good time. And given this person's obvious need of assistance, I know he or she will get the help needed without further delay from someone else. Jesus would reply, this is not what it means to be a neighbor. He might have said something stronger, even as the Apostle Paul did when he responded to his own rhetorical question in Romans 6. Should we continue in sin in order that grace may abound? His answer was by no means. So my friends, I ask you to come join me this week, and let's look at this a little more closely as we worship the risen Lord this Sunday at 11 o'clock at Cedartown First here at 201 West Aiken Avenue. Or, of course, join us online on Facebook at Cedartown First Methodist Church. I hope you have a great rest of the week, and come join me Wednesday night at 7 o'clock at Union Campground as we kick off this wonderful yearly edition of Camp Meeting.